Breaking parts is a crucial aspect of Monster Hunter. It not only awards you an increased chance to gain extra materials in the reward screen, but can also hinder a monster's ability in combat. This can range anywhere from limiting attack options, nullifying a monster's primary mechanic, and exposing weak spots. My name is Monster Hunter, and even if you cut off Rathian's tail, she can still poison you when landing her signature tail flip. In today's video, I'll be discussing the various effects caused by part breaks. All monster parts have hit zone values that affect the damage calculation and their interaction with sharpness levels. Parts that are 45 or greater are considered weak spots and can be struck by any sharpness, while parts 44 or below vary in their results. These values usually remain static, but certain conditions, like breaking parts, can alter said values. Additionally, some monsters have parts that are covered in a layer of protection that must be broken. Both of the aforementioned concepts can shape the way that you approach the hunt. Monsters that have their values altered are Uragaan and Basarios, and monsters with protective layers are Barroth and Agnaktor. Uragaan and Basarios have unconventional hit zone values. Unlike most monsters, their heads are not their weak spots. For Uragaan, its belly is a weak spot, with a physical hit zone value of 55 and an elemental hit zone of 30 for both water and dragon. Its head, or more notably its chin, has a raw hit zone value of 19 and an elemental hit zone of 40 for water and 30 for dragon. Once broken, the chin raw hit zone value increases to 55 with an elemental hit zone of 20 for water and 35 for dragon. The chin plays heavily into Uragaan's matchup, as you are incentivized to focus on its belly while it uses attacks with an area of effect. The chin slam, which can be used stationary or as a disengage, can cause a tremor in the area around its head and stomach. It also has the ability to expel either hot or sleep gas from its body in a small radius. This creates an ultimatum: either focus the chin and risk being tremored, or focus the belly and risk being burned, put to sleep, or tremored too. Basarios functions similarly to Uragaan in terms of matchup and keep-away tools, but it differs in the durability of its parts. None of Basarios' parts have a hit zone value greater than 30, but once the chest is broken, it becomes the only vulnerable area. While this is a desired area to attack, the assortment of body slams, tackles, and a mixture of hot and poison gas can punish you for overcommitting. Monsters with makeshift armor are typically hiding softer, vulnerable parts underneath, with different raw and elemental hit zone values. Barroth is a desert-dwelling brute wyvern that coats itself in mud as protection from the sun. In combat, this mud can be used to create field hazards and enhance the effectiveness of several attacks. The mud layer also grants its immunity to fire elemental damage in exchange for a water elemental weakness. Once the mud is removed from any part, its weakness to fire elemental damage will be exposed. Agnaktor has solid volcanic rock protecting 7 out of its 8 body parts. Each of these rocks sports a hit zone value of 15, except for the fin, whose value is around 20. These rocks can be temporarily softened when Agnaktor comes into contact with heat sources such as the environment or fire weapons. Breaking the rocks reveals Agnaktor's body parts, allowing for these parts to be struck without bouncing. Exposing weaknesses encourages changing up one's strategy both before and after breaking parts. Enhanced states, otherwise known as transformations or super states, are powered up forms the monster takes during the battle. These are activated either during Enrage, over a period of time, or after reaching a certain health threshold. Some monsters have enhanced states connected to a monster's body part that can only be disrupted once it is broken. Not to be confused with Zinogre's transformation, which requires damage dealt to any part in general. Also, to clarify, the part itself is not officially broken. The two types of state breaks are single and multi-part breaks. Single part breaks are best represented by Glavenus and Gore Magala. During the hunt, Glavenus will empower its throat, and it will begin to glow red. During this time, its fireballs will have an explosive effect added. While it does gain a benefit from this, it will also become a hindrance for it. Damage to both its head or throat will cause the area to burst and topple Glavenus. This break is completely separate from its head breaks, which is why I classified this as a transformation break. This was also a feature that was added to Monster Hunter Rise's version of Anjanath. Gore Magala's transformation is built up over the course of the hunt as its health gets lower. This is indicated by the severity of its roar and the faint glow in its wings. At the peak of its rage, the feelers emerge in the form of horns on its head. There are two ways to end Gore's enhanced state. An accumulation of damage to any part of its body will pacify the state, as noted by the color of its feelers becoming a tad more mute in tone. The super state can only be undone during the muted tone when any attack strikes the head or if the player primarily focuses the feelers. Both Gore's head and feelers can be broken separately, and by striking the feelers enough to break them, will reach the damage threshold necessary to end the transformation if its feelers were intact during the first transformation. Multi-part breaks include monsters like Astalos and Seething Bazel. Using attacks with either its head, wing arms, or tail will charge Astalos' respective parts until they glow a neon green. This allows for stronger attacks and combos with boosted effects. For instance, Astalos' signature wing arm slap normally causes a knockback when hitting hunters. A fully charged wing arm slap will effectively launch those struck by either its arm or the electric explosion. So long as the one part is fully charged, it gains access to its dive bomb attack. Damaging these parts will end their charge, and after breaking two charged parts, Astalos will topple. Seething Bazel is similar to Anjanath, where it gains a new state with enhanced moves with each enrage. This is shown when Seething's explosive scales on the head and tail glow white. For the duration of its enrage, it will drop empowered explosive scales and boosted attacks. If the enrage is not cancelled before its duration is up, it will end the enrage by performing a powerful dive bomb attack followed up by an insanely crisp roar. The head and tail must both receive a certain amount of damage to cancel the state and gain a topple. The order of which doesn't matter, but as long as it has one glowing part, it can still use the mini nuke attack. Regardless of how many times you knock it out of this enrage or break its head or tail, it will always enter its enhanced state when enraged. Monsters have mechanics tied to specific body parts. When broken, it can affect the monster's performance by temporarily or permanently disabling a monster's primary mechanic, movement options, and combos. Monsters that are temporarily affected are Garangolm and Goss Harag. Coating its arm in environmental substances is the primary mechanic of Garangolm. Its standard attacks that involve punches and slams are enhanced by these sleeves as they deal elemental damage and blights. While this is exclusive to its raged state, the arms become a pivotal area to focus as their hit zone values for both raw and elemental damage increase. Breaking them causes Garangolm to topple and exit its enraged state. It will reapply the elemental hands the next time it enrages. Fun fact, as a result of the sleeve break, Garangolm will be toppled for 15 seconds. If you manage to deal enough damage to reach its enrage threshold, it will recover and enrage immediately. Goss Harag's main mechanic is creating ice weapons on its arms when enraged. At higher health thresholds in G rank, it will gain distance from the hunter and fire 2 beams of ice before arming itself. At lower thresholds, it will simply apply the weaponry almost immediately. These ice weapons can enhance the damage, effects, and range of its attacks. The caveat is that they receive higher raw and fire elemental damage. When one of these is fully broken, Goss Harag will be toppled momentarily. The enrage will not subside, but it will take a small period of time before reapplying the ice shanks. Monsters being able to reapply their unique mechanic is few and far between, as those susceptible to breaks never truly recover. The godfather of monster flashing itself, Gypceros, is a monster whose unique mechanic is permanently removed. Gypceros' main goal is to spread poison in the area and blind the player. The organ on its head is used to activate its flashing ability. It can either remain stationary in its stance to flash the area around it, or as a follow-up attack. This is completely nullified by breaking its crest, as it will still attempt to flash despite being incapable. Barioth is a monster whose movement is permanently affected by breaking its wing arms. The spikes on its wing arm allow for greater stability when moving on ice. The impact of breaking the wing arm is represented best in Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate and Rise. Barioth's pounce attack sees it leaping toward the player and rotating upon landing, which could lead into another set of attacks. It will instead have trouble recovering when the wing arms are broken. In Rise, more notably Sunbreak, Barroth has a new radial tail sweep. The recovery of this attack will be replaced by a brief topple when the wing arms are broken. Lastly, some monsters lose access to combos. Not combos like those found in fighting games, but certain attacks chained together. Gravios has the ability to fire heat beams and expel hot gas from its body. Using the heat beam leaves it vulnerable to attacks from its side and rear, while the hot gas works as a keep-away tool, similar to how Uragan's gas works. However, it can combo with these attacks. While firing its heat beam straight, it will produce an orange cloud from its body. Afterward, it will shake momentarily as it disperses gas in the area. This mechanic is tied to the health of its back, and upon breaking it, the combo will no longer work. It will still fire beams and puff out gas though. To close this out, breaking parts has several benefits outside of additional rewards and can have an effect on monsters in battle. I'm sorry for the time it took to release this, but I was getting a couple things together for other video types. Thank you for watching, and remember that Rathian's tail can still poison you even when it is cut off. Until next time.